Well, let's go ahead and create a layer mask. And by creating the layer mask, we are going to mask out all the areas around the hippo here that we don't want, because these aren't just, the areas that are really not going to help us much in making this look, as real as possible. So let's make sure that the hippo head layer is active, and come down to the bottom of the layers palette and just click on the Add a Layer Mask button, which is right here. And that will create a mask. You should see a little white square there next to the layer. I'm going to select the zoom tool and just zoom in to the hippo head here. And let's click on, or make sure that the layer mask is selected. Sometimes this thumbnail over here will be selected, but make sure that the hippo layer mask is selected. You should see a little line around it. And select the brush tool on the toolbar, and I'm going to increase the diameter of this brush. Now for this, we're going to have to go back and forth between the hardness settings. Okay, I like to start with no hardness at all. I'm going to do an area over here that I know I could probably get away without, just using a soft brush here. So I'll click outside of that and make sure I have the foreground set to black. And then I can just come in here and very carefully go around the hippo head, or the hippo neck here, whatever it is, and just go around with my brush and start erasing everything away so it starts to look like the hippo is a part of this lizard. Now remember, we're not really erasing any part of this hippo. It's only a mask. You can just change the foreground to white, come over to the keyboard and press the DNX key, DNX on the keyboard, and that'll change the foreground to white. And you can paint back the hippo. Okay, so it's always there, don't worry. Sometimes it looks like you're erasing it for good, but alright. I think because a lot of people starting with Photoshop will just grab the eraser tool. And then, that's a no-no. I don't think I hardly ever use the eraser tool. Because once you erase it, then that's it. It's just erased for good. Unless you have a copy of it, or you've backed it up or whatever. I always use a layer mask as much as possible, anytime I can. And so hopefully from this day on, if you are a beginner, then you will use the layer mask too. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and I notice that the brush needs to be just a little bit softer. And I'm just going to come in here with this brush. I'm not going to be too fussy right now. I'm just going to get the general idea on how I want this to look. And obviously it's just way too soft right now. I'll bring it back a little bit. Look at that. And I'll define that edge later on. I just really want to get an idea on if this would really pass or not. Looks like it's a little baggy there on the bottom of the hippo head. So I'm just going to take that off just a little bit. Even go up in that lizard a little bit more. Turn down the hardness so we get that to blend. Always try to use the original. If you do have the original creature or object underneath the layer that you're replacing it with here, just try to use those shapes and underneath there to help you get it just right. That looks pretty good because I think the lizard's neck is sort of it's not as thick as the hippo's neck, so we're going to have to just go off the lizard neck there and then just sort of make it look like it's getting wider as it gets towards the mouth of the hippo. You see that? And I'm just going to change that foreground to white and increase the hardness of that brush. And then go back in here and just paint this back. Look at that. Whoops. Go ahead and change that to black. Okay. I'm not going to worry about this edge too much. I can always come back to this. Just want to get the general idea. A lot of the final touches and things like that, you can just do that later on. So what do you think? I mean, does it look pretty good? It looks like on the top of his, on the top right here, I don't know if it's me or if that doesn't, that looks like we've taken a little bit too much off of the top there. Looks like we did. Okay, I see what we're doing here. Just want to make that look as real as possible. Just bring that transition with the neck here. Make that just a nice, smooth transition there. Look at that. Cool. Okay, lizard's got a big head, big hippo head there. All right, that's looking pretty hot. I like it. And we've gotten the color pretty dang close to the lizard color there. Yeah, that's pretty close. All right, now let's look over here, and you can see that the lizard is popping out of the mouth and maybe just a little bit on top there, or it mostly looks like it's seeping or coming through, it's showing through on the other side of the hippo head. Well, that's easy to do. That's easy to cover up because all we have to do is click on the lizard layer, and we can use several tools here. We can use the healing brush, but I think, no, we're going to use the clone stamp tool for this. And if you're not sure, just try a tool. The clone stamp tool will allow us to pick up an area next to the area that we want to patch. So in other words, I can make this hippo go away here. And let's go ahead and save the changes so far. And so if I have the clone stamp tool currently, and if I hold down the Alt key on the keyboard, which is the Option key on the Mac, hold down that key, you will see that the brush will change to this little crosshair with a little circle around it. Well, this is sort of like a target. And we're targeting what we want to sample. So, well, we want to get rid of the lizard's nose here because that's just showing through the mouth, and that's not really cool. So let's sample an area next to the nose by holding down Alt, Option on the Mac, click, and then bring that brush over, and then click again. And you can see it's just patched that up. Now I can probably click again and again. Now if I go back to the hippo, it looks like, you know, it's really not even there. And if I look at the very top of the hippo head, you can see this bright spot right there. Well, I think that is from the lizard as well. And sure enough, it is. So I can keep the hippo layer active just to make sure I'm doing a good job. And what I'll do is make sure the lizard layer is selected with the clone stamp. I'll make that a little bit smaller because we don't need it that big. I'll come right up above that bright area, hold down Alt, Option on the Mac, sample an area in the background, bring the brush over, and click once, and it's gone. That's it. So now we don't, at least from what I can see, we don't have that lizard there in the background showing through. Because if we do, then that's just a dead giveaway that the creature's not real. It's supposed to be an actual real-life creature. So